is science more words and interpretation than information about behavior, information about processes, of course, but empirical manifestations of those processes. I sometimes think we are on the, a little more on the edge of journalism and storytelling than we are the scientific endeavor, at least as represented in some of our most typical journals. Okay, so, and I think Jerry will talk about comparisons to other sciences in terms specific of the review process, but I'm trying to call attention to the same kind of comparison when it comes to the product itself. What's in the journals? What is the content of the journals? Question of reputation versus immediacy, timeliness and novelty, and heuristic value versus just pure reputation and long-term impact. Interestingly, by now, the impact rating of Psych Science is a little higher than that of JPSP, and I think the differential is getting stronger over time. And that's really going against a lot of statistical artifacts, because it turns out if you have a quarterly journal with just a few long papers in it, just by virtue of having a smaller denominator, even though we don't know, none of us know the secret formula that goes into those impact factors, but some of it is per article. It's based on dividing by the number of articles that are published. So when you think of a journal that by now is publishing relatively few articles per issue versus a journal like Psych Science that has lots of articles per issue, the fact that Psych Science impact rating is as high as it is, and the neuroscience impact ratings are off the charts, at least in the immediate impact sense, and they're very short and very many articles per journal. So, as I said, I'm not specifically here just to critique JPSP, although anybody gets me over a glass of wine, you could hear a lot more of that. But I think we have to the question, is the reputational value and the archival value worth the reviewer and author and editor time and effort we're giving to that particular journal? A journal that takes 2 years of time to get into, let alone the delay in getting publication, makes me wonder whether we ought to be asking that question. So that's one of the questions I want to raise. And then the question, I guess I already raised that one. And then the question is, even though we are developing, and I think one of the things that's happening is that instead of directly attacking or challenging or criticizing the JPSP model, what's happening is new things are emerging in competition that meet the needs that JPSP isn't meeting. And for a while they'll exist side by side, and maybe as the forces of evolution and survival of the fittest, eventually work their way through, there might be a replacement factor if the journals down more toward the data end of my continuum are more useful, more functional, more valued by the field. So there could be a gradual evolutionary change. So I think the models of the journals, we're getting new forms of journals with these shorter, more immediate impact goal. But the question I would ask, and as I said, I think this kind of leads into the next two talks, is as a field, our traditions of what it means to be a reviewer and an editor have been totally enmeshed in the JPSP model. We're very critical reviewers. We act as if every word, that gets published has to be there for all time and all people and all places. And I don't know yet whether we've trained ourselves as a discipline to match our reviewer behavior and editorial behavior to the newer forms of publication that we're evolving, I think, out of necessity. And that concerns me, that if we can have the new types of journals, but if we have an old reviewer mindset, the new journals are going to get just as bogged down as some of the older ones have. So those are just the questions I'd like to raise and then the digital age. Yes, that's the sort of opening the background context of all this. What are we going to do where do the digital and online journals fit in this model? So I'm going to just, hopefully my comments will serve as backdrop to others, and that we can get back to some of these questions when we get to the question and answer part.